We got 6 items on the agenda. So we'll begin and we'll try to get our agenda on the book. Okay, so what item do we want to go first?
I'm just reviewing them because it seems going to be a very busy evening.
Pardon me?
I said it looks like it's going to be a very busy evening next meeting.
Yeah. We got Newtown Creek. Arthur wants a liquor license. He wants 2 liquor licenses. We got Kushner Studios. So we got GSNY.
The New Creek Superfund project is number 1. Seems to be,
Pardon me?
oh, for number 1, the Newtown Creek Superfund project update could be number 1.
I think we should. I think we should bring it down a little further because some people come in later.
Oh,
So I think since they're very concerned, we got to look at in terms of what people really discussing. I thought that would be better to push it down a little further, so that the other board members, because there are going to be a lot of questions or concerns, and
okay.
so we do a regular presentation and look at the order in terms of what is presented and what really are going to draw more questions. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
we should make
Yeah, that's
6.
fine. Sure.
Maybe we should make 6 number 1.
Okay, great.
Okay. That's fine.
This is number 1. And then we could do the 2 liquor licenses.
Well, you got people that want to hear what these guys got to say, so I would want to put them in the beginning.
Number
Put who in the beginning?
The liquor license that Devanesky wants.
Okay. That's my only concern because when I look at the tendency of people coming in, like after I do a roll call, they seem to be coming in after maybe half hour or 20 minutes, 15 minutes. That was my concern because I know it's gonna get a lot of questions. So I mean, I don't know which was just straight up presentation. I'm looking to see what's more
Well,
informative.
we've always tried to put the bigger, the bigger presenters on when we know we got the full board, especially if something they got to vote on.
Right. So something that they would hear. So I mean, whatever you guys feel comfortable with, I'm just looking at what's going to be like major concern to them. Sometimes people come in, make a presentation, then it goes to committee, more questions. But I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the list, but
What about number 5 for 2, Cunningham?
yeah, that's what I was looking at. I don't know. You guys feel?
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
I agree. I agree. That sounds
And
good.
I think we should probably go to number 4.
4. Okay, number 4.
Yeah.
3.
And then Newtown Creek and then the liquor license.
I agree.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
I do.
sounds good.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else to add to the agenda?
Sounds good.
That's all we have right now. Okay, I don't know. We have the new charter revision that the BP want to do, and they're gonna have a comment period. So they're asking boards and board members or whoever to give comments. So we sent it out, we sent the change, we sent what, we sent it to everybody. Is there any discussion on that? About sending comments?
Well, I read, I'm still trying to make sense of it. I'm like, ooh, I don't know how you guys felt, but it was like, ooh, it was very overwhelming. How do you
Yeah.
guys feel?
It's almost like we need someone to present this in more language that's a little easier to understand. There's a lot.
Exactly. And then it's due Friday, Madam Chair. Is it this Friday?
Pardon me?
I saw it said by Friday, but is it this Friday?
I don't know what the date is. He just, they
It says
had.
Friday.
I haven't, well, I didn't see that in the paperwork.
I saw Friday, so when I was reading, I'm like, and it's just like a
Well,
lot of stuff.
you saw it Friday here?
Yeah, I saw a Friday deadline by Friday, put in the comments. So I'm like trying
Friday
to
of
find
what,
it.
Friday of what month and year?
I know, I just said Friday by Friday. I'm like, what is going on here? But then
Where did you see that at?
when
The
I
first
opened it, I
page-
was reading it.
The page one says.
Page
Friday.
one, yeah, I saved it and now I put some notes, trying to be fancy, but now I can't find it to do it, lazy and just add the notes to on the computer. And now I lost it. I can't find it.
It
I made
says
a little
Friday.
question.
It says that the BP will hold a public hearing on the proposed new rules. The public hearing would take place take place at 11 a.m. on Friday, but it didn't say what date.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, because he had an emergency meeting with the, well, they didn't call it emergency meeting. It was just a last minute meeting.
Oh, I
And
see.
they wanted to let us know that they wanted to make these revisions
Mhm.
and that they wanted us to know before they go public. And but I had to call Borough Hall today because I didn't know if he had gone public with it, but I understand he talked about it in his speech of the borough meeting
Oh.
at our board meeting. So I haven't gotten any word because they hadn't even put it in at that time when we had the meeting. And that was
Wow.
the week that was the week before our meeting. So he spoke about it, but they got to give comment. You got to have time for comments, and generally that's like 30 days or something, right? Because
Yeah.
public hearing and everything. So they just wanted to get to the boards to let us know that they was putting this out here, and that if we had any comments, that we could send them in. So do we want to send in comments or what we want to do? Hi, Maria. Happy New Year.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Hi.
Happy New Year to everyone.
You, Sandell?
No, I didn't say anything. I just said
Oh, I
Happy
thought
New
you-
Year.
Oh, I'm sorry. So do we want to express how we feel about the rules?
I agree with Sonia. I have to read this a little more thoroughly because they make references
Yeah.
to appellate court decisions, and I mean, there's a lot of detail that I think I read it once or twice, but I really got to like really sit down and review what they're referencing to. Do other people follow what the discussion is in this?
All right, Regina, this is what?
Now, how do other people read this?
Well, I don't know. Other boards, we met in other boards, but people are discussing it with the executive board and with, whoever. And individuals can make comments too. So they want, So, they got it. This is the blank one. That's why it has no dates in it, because when they gave it to us, it had no dates because it hadn't been submitted. And I haven't heard that it's been submitted yet.
What do you think about
I
it,
just
Del?
joined, since I just joined, can you just, I'm sorry to make you regress. Which document are we talking about?
We're talking about the comments on the proposal that the borough president is making for community boards.
Hmm.
It's on the
It was sent out with the agenda.
Mhm.
But do we want to go through it and talk about what's in it?
could.
I think so. I mean, we have about 15 minutes. We should. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, though? When I read it, and I was just, it made my head spin.
Yeah, it made mine spin too.
It was. Oh my God! I don't know. Maria, did you get to read it, Maria?
Reading it right now.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I don't know, Gina. I mean,
I agree
Madam
with
Chair, it was just. It was
Yeah.
just. I don't know how to explain it.
It's
I
a
think-
lot, it's a lot.
It's
And I
just.
haven't- No, I haven't digested it myself, so.
It's overwhelming, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, talk about bureaucracy, red tape, and all this long stuff. I mean, it was like, whoa. Sorry, guys, but that's how I felt.
So one of the things that they're establishing is to provide training and technical assistance to the members of community boards.
And that's good. That's good.
Well, that's the first thing, that's one of the first things
But
mentioned.
no, but keep reading.
I'm reading.
Keep reading. Maybe you could dissect it for us.
I don't know about dissecting it.
Okay, so let's just try to go through some of it. The Office of the Borough Brooklyn Borough President proposed to add new rules codifying the policy on how borough presidents exercise his authority under Section 280A of the New York City Charter to appoint community board members outright or on the nomination of New York City Council members. In addition, the proposed new rules seek to explain, elaborate, and concertize how the BK interprets the mandate under section blah, 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 provide training and technical assistance to members of community board. Agency's duty under section, we don't know all these sections, to furnish prompt each community board on requests and information or assistance necessary. So that's the board training. And I also, one thing I do, he said was that with the appointments and stuff, that he wouldn't be doing no late appointments, and that the council, couldn't come to him after somebody missed the deadline and try to get them to appoint somebody. If you didn't have your applications in on time, then it was just like too bad. And then said a new rules seek to clarify the relationship among BK other agencies and organs of city government and communicate boards after decades of confusion about what 1989 revisions to New York City Charter mean relations to operational support for the function of community boards. Section 2800 of the Charter provides that all agencies are required to furnish promptly to each community board on request information or assistance necessary for the board's work. But the Charter does not specifically does not specify which agencies are to provide what forms of assistance. The scant judicial interpretation of Section 2800 of the Charter assumes that it directs city agencies to comply with community boards' pertinent requests for assistance and information. Community boards, 7, judicial interpretations has yet to elaborate what may be pertinent and how city agencies can be compelled to comply. So I do know he spoke about that he was not being compensated with other agencies not doing their jobs. So I think he's trying to get other agencies, and we ask an agency for some information or do something for us. I think he wants that agency to take care of it without it coming to him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, they got accountability and who's going to be responsible. Yeah, that's good to measure accountability. I like that.
Yeah, so I really, maybe we should think about asking the borough president to send somebody out to the board to talk to us about it.
I think that's a good idea.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
I got a headache. I'm telling you, I'm sorry, guys. But normally, I'm pretty good, but ooh.
Yeah, this was a bit much, especially since you're not familiar with all the charter stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it means going back and reading it, and it says to clarify the relationship, but he needs
Yeah,
to talk about specifically what relationship we now have and what he wants to clarify,
Right.
change.
that's a great idea. Yeah, guys, I agree. I mean, it's always good to know and not run into trouble for clarity and transparency. I mean, I think it's so important for us to really have someone come out and really explain that to us.
Yeah, because down the next paragraph, it said Brooklyn Borough President seeks to breathe life into the right by adopting rules reflecting what the charter states its various agencies bring about more equitable relationships among the office of Brooklyn Borough President, community boards, and other city agents, all equal under Section 1150. The charter function, the proposed rule advances equity in three ways. First, in accumulating, articulating the forms, norms, standards, and criteria BPs use in making community board appointments and reappointments. BP can provide guidance to other agencies and organs of city agents, including community board themselves, but have an interest in the process. BP is especially mindful of articulating standards that can form the controller's periodic audit of BK. Y'all have to excuse me, I don't have on my reading glasses, so that's why I'm stumbling.
That's okay. I mean, you're perfectly. I mean,
Yeah, I can't see the computer. I can't do the computer with my regular glasses, so I have to use my,
yeah. I make notes. I think I don't know. I left it in my computer at the job, but I was like, oh my God, I thought I was ready. I'm prepared. But I did make my notes inside the notes. So I just added comments, but now I have to wait till tomorrow.
yeah. So, it's a lot, and it's gonna be a lot of changes for community boards. In other words, I think it's gonna want us to stand more independently.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing if you got the help.
But it's a good thing if you, like you said, if you hold everybody accountable and how do you measure it and how everybody has a job to do and where do we go to, where do we turn to? I mean, it has to be all written out, like in terms of when we're experiencing whatever issues, technical issues, is there a middleman? Do we go straight to the top? Do we go straight to the person that's responsible? Who are they going to appoint? You understand? Because we do so much circles, like, hey, who do we talk to then?
Yeah, and see, that's the problem. These agencies give you the runaround, then you gotta go to the top. And and you shouldn't, I think he's trying to avoid, if the agency's not working with you, who do you go to?
Exactly. And they have to be held accountable. Everybody does. In terms of when we need technical support or issues with something or when we're going to purchase and things like that. I mean, they have to revisit all those things and really policy and procedures to me, I don't know because it's always changing. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes it is different rules for different fools.
Yeah, well, technical support, is one thing, but having the bodies, like a lot of community boards, a lot of them, the most I've heard of them got 3 employees or 2.5. So, we don't have, community boards don't have a whole lot of employees. So if you don't, these are things that the borough president's office has been doing for the boards ever since they were in existence, and don't quote me on that because I wasn't around. But it used to be any information you needed, you went to Borough Hall and you got it. But now it seems like you got to go to the, say you want something from DOT or you want something from sanitation or somebody, you should go to that agency and they should be able to take care of it. But everybody know the agencies, if you ain't got nobody to push them, they're not gonna act prompt.
So perhaps they're going to spell that out because I don't see it spelled out. I just see agencies. But in terms of, is there going to be additional document where it spells it out, or do we have to do our homework and then propose that in the comment section?
That's why I said we need somebody to come out and talk to the whole board about this and ask questions. Because there's one thing to implement new rules. But once you implement the rules, who's gonna make sure the rules get carried out?
Yeah, I mean, it says here that the new rules intend to make sure that the community boards get the resources they need from the city, but how is the borough president going to be requiring that the city give us support? I mean, I don't understand. It's just, to
So-
me, it's just generalizations, you know?
Exactly, it's too general, it's just too broad, and it goes into how people interpret it. That's always the issue. There has to be more concise and more to the point. Instead of us drawing our own conclusion, we have to hear straight from them. Because we can
Yeah,
interpret it all differently, and we can all think some way, and somebody else interprets it a different way. Whatever they take, whatever they need from it, and use it, and not necessarily have to be the whole thing. You understand? People can misinterpret and misconstrue what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and on page 4, in the third paragraph, it says, while recognizing equal status among community boards, the BP and the agency's organs of city government, the proposed new rules recognize the resource reality of community boards in practice, and based on their budget, the staff of community board typically does not exceed 3 employees. As such, a community board cannot exercise the full complement of services performed by a city agency, included but not limited to procurement, human resources, and information technology support, without the information assistance from other city agencies.
I have
Okay,
to
Maria.
say that there's a lot of good stuff here. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
like
is, but
really,
it-
I'm like eyeballing it seriously. But I think that what is proposed are changes to improve the functions of community boards, not as the body itself, but for like the administration and the resources that the body needs in order to function. So like, for instance, yeah, it requires that everybody is in agreement. I mean, he could say, we need all the city the government or agency, city government and all of the organs to work together to provide the proper resources, but can he enforce it? Can he ensure that everybody else is going to be on the same page and willing to? But I suppose that this is something that he's not working on alone, because, for instance, like members of community boards are appointed with the blessing of the borough president, but many are appointed by the city council members as well. So there has to be a broader conversation happening, not
let
just
me
at the
just
level.
interrupt you, Maria.
What was that?
Let me just interrupt you. City council recommend
Yes.
their appointments.
Right, the recommendations, and the borough president is the one that approves the appointment or appoints, right? So what I'm trying to say is that I'm sure that this is something, I presume that this is something that he is working on in collaboration with city council members, Brooklyn city council members, that perhaps are also reaching out or expressing the frustrations and the challenges that community boards are having, because they're dealing with it as well. I mean, what's happened in Community Board 1 has also happened at other community boards. And I'm talking about like the changing of the guards and what happened with the accruals and the situation, with the district manager. This is not something that just happened to us. It has happened in other boards. So it's because of the lack of information that is transmitted between the city agencies and the borough president's office. So this is something that should have been known prior to. So everyone should have been in the know. Things should have happened, and a succession plan should have been in place, and how to and risks and the mitigating of the risks of things like that should have happened already, so that we wouldn't be faced with, okay, so we don't have any money to hire a DM because it was absorbed by the accruals. There
Well,
should have been a plan.
Absolutely, I agree with you, but that's why we were offered the technical assistance by the attorney, Greg Lewis, was it?
Gregory
Back
Lewis,
in
who works for the borough
September,
president.
we're in January. He was supposed to give us training on how to become employers, as opposed to, and different mindset. He said he was going to walk us through. We're supposed to get educated as far as being the employers of the community board office. And I haven't seen that. Have anybody heard anything from it? And that was
Well,
in
no,
September. That was
not really.
September.
But this proposal speaks to a lot of those challenges. This proposal is to actually avoid situations like the one can potentially avoid situations like the one that we've been faced with and
No,
that
I
we're
get that,
facing.
Maria. I get that moving forward, but I said before we can even move forward, we have to know what went wrong in terms of we've got to look at that roadmap and say where did it go wrong? What was the miscommunication? What are really the policies and procedures? Because I think okay, we can move forward, and I'm all for it. But before we can, we have to see where the holes are and plug them, where the mistakes were, and it's not pointing fingers or looking for a gotcha moment. It's the terms of okay, what happened? Where did we go wrong? And why aren't we getting that education in terms of, as the charter tells us, we're the employers, we get to hire, we get to do all these stuff and all these procedures that we are empowered to, and yet we're not being empowered because they're taking it from us. It's all
I
about
think
empowering
that,
us.
the proposal is to make, community boards more independent and being able to get the stuff that we need from the other city agencies.
Absolutely, and I get that. But the thing is, are we really being empowered? Are we really going to be able to do it? I mean, what roadblocks do we have? What obstacles are we going to face? If, everybody has to be on the same page, but we're not even in the same book yet because and there's still people asking for these answers that they seem not to give us. Like, we're short of staff. What's going on with the status of the other employee? We're not asking to violate any HIPAA's law. We're just asking, where are we with the second employee? Are we moving forward? Is there going to be a conclusion to that? How many more time leave is the person's going to be out? These are things that we're still not getting answers to, and we're still, asking Joanne to step. She stepped up, of course, and I appreciate her, and she's been amazing. But yet, there's a fine line because she happens to be union, and pushing our luck in terms of what we can do and how do we protect our employees. Even there's one employee, how do we protect her and not overburning her or burning her out? How do we alleviate all this stuff? And are we doing the right thing in terms of, are we too pushy with her? Are we expecting too much? You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that we have to educate ourselves with. As a shop steward of 15 years, I know that there's certain things that we have to know how to draw a line and not cross it. And I've seen it being crossed by many of our fellow board members and our colleagues. So these are things that
We're at the breaking point on this board because it's becoming overwhelming.
absolutely, and I get it, Madam Chair. But what I don't get is that we've got to get that legal technical support from the legal people at the Brooklyn Borough's office so that we don't run ourselves into trouble. And again, my hats off to Joanna. She's been so grateful. I mean, great. Oh my God, she's been wonderful with us. However, we have to know how to draw that line, people.
Yeah, well, I think they expect us, as far as legal advice is concerned, I think they expect community boards to go to the law department because Borough Hall don't want no lawsuits.
I mean, I agree, but it's still like in terms of moving forward. I mean,
I
this whole
think that he's
process.
taking a more proactive role.
Yeah, but
I
I
think
mean,
that he's beefing up procedures. I think this proposal is to enhance, you know, the functions of the community board in administratively, um, and also to help board members become a little more savvy
yes,
if
and I
training
agree.
is required. And I mean, when making these decisions that speak to an entire community, and sometimes, you need to speak from a place, not just from passion, and
Hmm.
because you're a member of the community, and but also to have a little bit of knowledge in terms of speaking on behalf of something
Right.
that requires that you have just a little, you know, I think this is a good proposal. There's
It
room
is,
to provide feedback. Um,
and I totally agree,
that's what I
Maria.
read, right?
I think yeah, but I don't think that's my concern. Is this everything is a process. Everything requires time. Things don't happen overnight. Even with this district manager and looking at it and hiring and whatever, people have to understand that things take time. And there are people who do not have that time and they just want to keep pounding on it. Everything is a procedure. Everything requires, whether it's red tape or bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it, everything is a process. And we seem to always want to put the carriage before the horse. We're always, haste makes waste. We got to do things right. And it's overwhelming for me to think that people think that things get resolved in a day, in a month, and it's not feasible. We've got to understand how to be patient and how to educate ourselves properly, how to do the right thing, regardless how painful people might see it. It does take time.
Listening to Maria, I do agree that one of the things I like reading this is that they are making sure that those people that come on to the community board take more of a responsibility, because they're saying they will interview. And if your application is not in, then you will not be considered. And I mean, it's important that people do take a more that they're looking at who sits on the community board, and that they're just taking a more a better look at who's sitting there, and a more proactive look in working with who's being appointed to the community board. That I do understand, because they're even talking about possible interviews of people that are coming onto the community board. And if your
Yeah.
application was not submitted on time, then that's that. That's, I think, very important for them.
That
And
is
that's a
what it
good
is.
thing. And that's a good thing. The fact
I
that they
think
interview
that's a good
people.
thing. In the past, I
yeah.
think they used to reach out to people and say, "Oh, your application, you have to." No, now you take if you're not taking that proactive approach, then they're saying, "Okay, then we will move on to somebody else who is." I mean, I just think that that's one of the things that I'm reading in here that I
Yeah,
understand.
and then I found that even with the new application, I love the fact that they want to talk about yourself, talk about your interests, talk about things that you can really contribute to the board, which to me, and it seems like for me, people will start to take things seriously and look at what their real agenda is.
That's right.
And again, I mean, I don't want to sound pessimistic, ladies and gentlemen. But the fact to me, sometimes it just feels like people are passing the buck. And it's concerning. It's concerning because I know everybody's scared of lawsuits and what have you, but the fact is we've got to be better in terms of communication, as far as accountability and how we're measuring it. Because I don't know, people. I don't know. Oh, are we starting the search committee meeting?
I'm
It's
asking,
7.
what don't you know? Am I taking it a step further?
I'm sorry, no, but I'm just saying that what I don't know is, listen, every time we encountered a situation, not just as executive, well, mostly the executive committee, they left us hanging high and dry. I got you, mommy, pointing the fingers because we're the executive committee. It just seems to me that people be passing the buck. Because when the things happen, I don't want to revisit that stuff, but when things happen, we make choices, they will leave us holding the bag. They wouldn't say other agency, other people authorized it, other people, approved it. It was no, the executive committee did what the executive committee wanted to do. So I'm just concerned, is it to enhance us? Is it to better us? Or is it to pass the buck? No comments?
I don't know what to say. I mean, to me, a lot of what they're saying here are just generalizations. It's like, yeah, we're all in favor of world peace and everybody working together and the community boards getting the help that they need, not necessarily from the borough president, but from the city agencies. Who can disagree with that? I just don't know this. I don't think I understand what the specifics are. So it would be nice, I think, to have
Yeah, someone
one
to come
come
from the government. Yep,
and we can
I
ask
agree.
them more specifics.
I agree, guys. I agree. I don't know how you guys feel, but I agree. Someone should come out and really
They come
detail
in.
it and break it down. Break it down.
Yeah, to break it
There's a
down.
lot of legal jargon and not everyone is an attorney. I think that I agree with you all. Somebody has to come and explain it in layman terms.
Even just, you know, Maria,
Yes.
you're assuming, and hopefully correctly, you're at least hoping that this is being done in cooperation with the mayor's office, let's say, and the city council. And it would be nice
Yes.
if we could get that assurance. Not that,
Yes.
okay, the borough president's not gonna help us on this, that, and the other thing, because we have to get support from the different agencies. And then, oh, but those agencies weren't informed. So, you know, we need to, I think, just, I guess, you know, we can all read this again and be more prepared, and then for whatever meeting we're going to have with whoever would be able to come to speak to us from the community board, from the borough president.
By the way, when's the deadline to submit a renewal application?
It's always around Valentine's Day, I think.
Oh, God.
Is it? I
Marie,
thought
it's on Valentine's Day, you have to submit it if it's due.
It's
I-
Valentine's Day? It is Valentine's Day?
No,
it's
the
always- it's
deadline
always
is
around
February.
that.
The deadline for submitting of applications this year is February 17th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's always around Valentine's Day somewhere.
Okay.
I'm thinking if we're going to go into the search committee meeting, could we have everybody from the executive board? A lot of us are on the executive board, but
We have to first close the meeting. We have to first close the.
no, I know. I'm just asking if people can stay.
And also, I
Maria,
want
if
to
you
make it.
can stay.
Of course, I
business.
host.
I have a
I
question.
said
There's
no.
a person, Angelina. Who's Angelina?
I want to discuss some new business
I
from the
don't know, I don't know
executive
who
Hold
board.
on, hold
Angelina
on.
is.
Hold on, Madam has to adjourn it because
There was an Angelina on in the meeting. Who's Angelina?
I think
Look
she's
like
just
she
visiting. She's just visiting.
Hmm.
Well, you know, I think if we want to ask somebody to come out and explain this to us, we need to take a vote so Joanna can send an email to the borough president and ask him to send somebody out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
So
yes,
hopefully we can get them by our next meeting.
yes,
Okay, everybody agree?
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that other boards are doing the same thing because I'm sure that other boards are also asking questions like, what is this? What does this mean? What?
Yeah, and you know, and people, then I'm pretty sure they're gonna make comments, you know. But boards are having problems. Boards are having problems, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just need
Joanna.
Simon, Madam Chair, we just need Simon to weigh in because Maria agree, right? Gina,
Yeah,
Yes,
agree.
Del,
yes,
Simon,
I agree.
Yes.
yes.
and Sonia. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Agree. Who's
Agree.
missing? Phil Cap. Where's Phil? He didn't
Yeah,
come.
where is Phil?
We already asked where Phil is and nobody knows. Okay. Okay, so we'll send an email to the office and ask somebody to send somebody out. Hopefully, you know, we got 2 more weeks. Hopefully they can send somebody out to speak about this rule changes, proposed rule changes.
Okay.
Perfect. So we're gonna close the meeting, Madam Chair. So we
Is
can-
there anything else?
Not- Yeah, I would
No.
like to discuss yesterday the transportation committee with the issue. I think it was out of order. I want the input to the executive board to discuss this.
Go ahead, Simon.
So there was a discussion about forming a subgroup for the transportation needs, and then that was one issue, which so there was a vote on that. Then there was another issue about naming a chair for that committee. I strongly opposed that the transportation committee, as a body, should have a say on whom they could take a vote and mention a name, and this should be submitted to the full board. I think it was out of order. Well, the vote went
Subcommittee for
forward
what, Simon? A subcommittee on what?
for the transportation needs for Community Board
What?
1. Transportation needs for CB1, and I forgot his name. they recommended Osleborn or somebody who is on the board on the transportation committee. He should be the chair of that subcommittee. But it's I don't
understand what you're talking about. Yeah, I understand. I think what you're referring to, I mean, I suspect, I believe what you're referring to is that they want to do a subcommittee related to the capital budget needs and expense budget.
Okay, right. But
But
yeah, that
I-
was the issue. The issue was is that they took a vote on naming somebody. That the committee wanted to name someone. Said, "Oh, we should vote on naming." I forgot his first name. He should become the chair of this committee. I said, it doesn't belong in committee. It belongs to the chair of the board. You can't get a vote on this. So that was the issue. I just feel that this was out of order.
This pertain to budgetary issues?
Yeah, but we voted on the vote came up that naming a chair on that committee. That I think was out of order.
Do we need a subcommittee on transportation on budget issues?
I don't know. I just think that Ari brought that up.
Go ahead, Gina.
I would say no, because we have the capital budget committee.
Yeah, really? Of
Yeah.
course.
I think if he has these issues, I mean, we're having a capital budget, I scheduled something for the 25th. He can come to that meeting and we
Yeah.
can work on that. We do have a capital, and we would include his transportation needs.
But yeah, but
Needs.
isn't the committee generating committees or appointing, isn't that and part of the bylaws where the chair of the board, I mean, Madam Chair, that
Yes,
delegates, it's not their jurisdiction. They don't have authority to do that.
I think that's what, I think that's what Simon is saying.
Yeah, so, I mean,
I agree with Gina. I don't see no need for a subcommittee. And at this time, we don't have the capacity to appoint another committee. We already averaging 15, 20 meetings a month.
yeah.
I think the executive board should vote on this and make our
But-
recommendation.
But the thing is that we cannot vote on it because they haven't formally presented it. Did we see the report? Did we see anything in writing? Was it sent to the office or to you, Madam Chair, where they're coming up with
They
this
haven't sent
idea?
me anything.
So I don't think that we should vote on it until they submit something and because they have to put the proposal in or some kind of recommendation, and we have to say, hey, no, this is not, it's out of
Well,
line. It's,
Well, I would imagine what's gonna happen is they probably gonna bring it to the full board and ask for a vote.
Right.
but
But
the thing is that it's in the bylaws and who generates this committee and who appoints and who assigns. So they have to go back to the bylaws and read it in terms of whoever, I don't know when they're gonna submit their report or their email, but perhaps send them an email, hey, we've heard there was discussion about generating a subcommittee. We need to talk or let's have a meeting, let's discuss this because it's not within their jurisdiction. They're not authorized to do that.
Plus, I don't see a need for a budget committee.
I agree. And the
A
thing is,
subcommittee.
Dallas, if you're right, and they are gonna bring it up at the full board for a vote, the full board doesn't have the authority to vote on this. I think the executive committee might, at this point, have to make a statement that before we start any new committees and have new chair people of those committees, they'd have to come to the executive committee.
Yeah, but they haven't, generally when somebody wants to start a committee or ad hoc committee or something, they generally discuss it. But this has not been
Truly.
discussed. And
I
that's
know.
why I said we should take a vote on it. And if they send me the information, then I can say the executive board took a full vote and we voted no.
So
I
hold
agree.
on, they're trying to establish a
agree.
subcommittee?
Yes.
They're
Yeah,
trying to establish a subcommittee of the transportation committee.
the
But having to
transportation
do with
committee.
budget,
The
budgetary needs.
the transportation committee wants a subcommittee for the budget committee.
For the budget committee, what budget? Because I'm hearing you all, but what budget?
Or
Which budget?
Capital.
What they want to do.
capital budget.
They want to work on their capital budget, expense budget district needs.
Okay,
We have a capital budget committee. Therefore, they can come to the committee like all other committees do.
Yeah.
Park committee comes to this committee, the housing committee. Jan is on the committee, right? Jan Peterson is on this committee. They could participate, and then they could have a better understanding of
But what was he suggesting?
how we work with the district needs statements. Actually, you know, the next committee meeting that we will have, I was going to just review a lot of the information in terms of how we would be working on the district needs statements. So it's more working together, integrating, not separating.
Yeah, all you're asking the committees for is to give you input on what they think need to go in it,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Good discussion.
But it's a task that is ongoing. It's not a task that is like a lot of the things that people vote on in their committee meetings where it's that issue for that night or for a few weeks. I'm just saying that's probably why they did it, but I don't understand. I mean, first of all, we don't know what they're trying to do, so I don't know why we would be voting on anything.
Exactly.
But, and the other thing is that Simon, unless I'm wrong, one of the reasons that you have that job to go to all these meetings is to be able to respond. So I'm just saying, I think you have to call the chair of the committee and saying you were there and that you heard X, Y, and Z, and you don't, that's not how things are done. And then let's see what happens. But I mean, let's not preempt people trying to do something
Exactly.
when we don't even know what it is yet.
Yep.
But Simon said he told them,
What? It's our
he
meeting
said he
about
told them last night they couldn't do that. He
right.
said they
One
voted on
second.
it.
I'm sorry to interruption. I just called because I'm not so learned. I mean, the wording and this. So I just called Maria Dominic on another line, and she's gonna I'm just putting on a speaker. Let her just say what kind of committee they want to do. I think she's also very against it. 1 second. Let me just put her on speaker. One second. Okay, Mary, talk.
Okay, so at last night's Transportation Committee meeting, Eric, I have another call. Just hold on 1 second. Hold on.
Why don't you call Eric?
Yeah, we gotta get on
Eric
with
the
the,
chair of the committee? Isn't Eric the chair?
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Why don't you call
Yeah.
Eric?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Why don't you call Eric?
Okay. So at last night's meeting, Eric, the chair of transportation, wanted to nominate specific persons for organizing and putting together a district needs data regarding all safety issues in the district. We found that some of us found that inappropriate because we already have a chairperson of the Transportation Committee, and he wanted to set up a subcommittee and limit that subcommittee to 2 or 3 people that were chosen by him, not by the committee. And also, my question was, the person that he chose was Paul Kelterhorn to nominate as, you know, the chair of this subcommittee. And Paul said he did extensive research into our community, and he has a whole Excel sheet of findings concerning safety in streets, corners, lights, so forth. My question was, does he have any kind of engineering experience, any traffic safety experience? Does he work for the city? Does he work for DOT? I found it very difficult and uncomfortable to hear that a layperson is going to decide what kind of safety measures should be applied in our district as district needs. I mean, basically he is deciding all alone on all of these issues, and Eric is the one that is promoting this. So there were several other people that were uncomfortable with this situation.
But did they actually literally take a vote, or did Eric
Did he not know that he has to go through, Madam Chair? Did they approve it? Did they recommend? Did they vote? Did Eric not speak or say?
The committee voted, and we were outnumbered by non-board members. Okay, that committee meeting last night was stacked with
Wow.
non-community board members, which is an issue, there were a fair number of people that are board members that voted against it, and we were overridden by the non-community board members. The vote was for Eric to nominate Paul Kelterhorn to be the chair of this subcommittee. That was the vote. So he didn't actually select him as the chair. He nominated him to be the chair, and he's going to ask Cialis to make that appointment.
Wow.
But,
That,
We
no,
are,
that's not,
there's several of us that were uncomfortable with that whole procedure.
now let me just clarify. This is Simon. I want to clarify something. First there was the vote if we should create this body, this committee, and then the vote was who we should vote for. So there were two votes, and both votes, as Mary just said, we were outnumbered by the non-full board members.
but there isn't a vote. It's not, it's against the bylaws. That's not even
Oh.
something to consider. It goes against the bylaws. Either
Okay,
the
fine.
chairperson names a committee or their entire board. What they did was not lawful. It
Okay,
goes
so we
against
should-
the bylaws anyway.
Yeah,
But I
so we
think
should
that,
vote?
Madam Chair, you should have a discussion with Eric and see what happens.
Eric
because
should
that
have a
is-
discussion
Well,
with
I
me
think-
before he did this. My
Excuse
thing
me.
is,
Yeah,
I'm
because
looking
it's out
at
of
the
line. It's out of
I'm
line.
looking at the transportation committee, and there's only 3 non-board members on there. So how did the Joanna, could you check and make sure I'm right on that? Maybe, no, I'm sure I'm looking at the updated list. But
Sure.
I'm looking at 3 non-board members on this committee. How did they outvote the committee?
Well, because they had committee members joining with the non-committee members.
Yeah,
So
because you got 10 committee members on there, and you got 3 non-board members.
Right, so it was like 8. It was like 8 against 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd have to look at the attendance. I don't remember who exactly was, there. But if 3 of those people who are non-members join with 3 of the committee members, then, we're left with 3 or 4 of committee members, and we're outvoted,
Right, you are. That's called
Yeah,
democracy.
yeah, that's true.
But it is called democracy. And I'm just saying is that,
No.
Mary, I'm just saying is that I think that this issue has come up for the last 6 or 8 months about the non-committee and the committee. I think this should go to the bylaw committee.
Yes.
Alice, I'm on that. And I think that they should do a decent review because a lot of people have been upset for a while about the whole issue of the voting and the non-committee and the committee and all that. I think it's important to look at, not
Yeah,
just the
but-
past thing with the executive board. It's worthwhile.
But yeah,
to
but you're
until
right,
that-
Jan, but I
Until
co-chair
it's
the
reviewed
bylaws.
and looked at, you're gonna do whatever. But I'm just saying is that it should move because people brought it up now for a while.
Yeah, well, we had the chairs on our meeting last month, and we discussed this,
Yeah,
and we come to the conclusion that the committees are not overwhelmed.
Yes.
With non-board members.
but even if there was a vote, it was not valid, people, because I am the co-chair of the bylaws, and it clearly states that it's either the chairperson or the full board. It isn't a committee to make a subcommittee. They're not authorized to do that. So there is none and void. It was just, that's what I'm saying. You gotta have a conversation with Eric. Look at the report, look at the whatever video and see what it's transpired, because I'm finding it hard to believe that they would violate the bylaws and make a subcommittee where they don't have the jurisdiction to do so.
And I
So
think
it's a void. issue.
But Sonia, don't you think that instead they should just say they're putting together a working group that's going to look in depth on this issue, but it comes back to their own committee. If they want to have a working group that doesn't have any power other than doing some homework for the committee, that's what they should be doing. They shouldn't be trying to
Exactly.
create another committee
But
that
that's what
has
they
some
should say.
power, which is what you're all talking about.
But they
Yes,
don't say
Dan,
on the
you're right.
committee. They should say, listen, whatever, Paul or whoever, can you lead an investigation, do a research, get the numbers, as part of the committee, he's delegating it to someone else. But as far as forming a subcommittee, no. In terms of, yes, research, do your homework, we've done it in our bylaws, we look at it, we review, we work independent and we come together, that's okay. But in terms of chairing a committee, a subcommittee, and voting for a chairperson, that's not cool, guys, it's not cool.
Well, the way I see it, is it Counterburn on the budget committee, Gina?
No, he's not.
He's not even on the budget committee. Main thing is, if he want to do research for his committee, because if we have a subcommittee, that means they're gonna have to have a meeting. That means another meeting, and we're overwhelmed with meetings now. So my
I don't
thing
like
is,
it because people are ganging up their friends, which is what people are saying here. I mean, there is a thing going on that is more concerning than what you're saying, I would say.
well, I'm sure it's
That's-
more to this than I know, because I certainly don't know.
And that's, when we look back, when Gina
But
was
what is,
presenting-
Jan, what are you talking about, about the people ganging up with their friends? Could you
Well,
fill
I
us
mean,
in?
Paul, first of all, Paul is relatively new, right? He's
Yes,
on Grec, so is Eric on Grec. So, I mean, we can start bunching up people. And also, we like a little bit more ethnic and racial diversity than all the white boys. So I'm just saying that's my own strong, you asking me. I wouldn't say it normally. I'm just saying that, and I work with Paul. He's a nice guy. I can see why they might like him. But they are in a group that votes together, and I've been watching who votes with who.
but what I'm getting at was, do you recall? Because I do the recording, I do the minutes, I take the Mr. Eric and Steve. They said they didn't have enough time, so they wanted to revisit and look at what the capital needs were, and that's okay. They felt like they needed more time to really get comments and really look at it and do some research and do some homework. That's all well and good, but then that's what they had to present to Gina. In terms of for the capital budget, they cannot go independent and do a subcommittee. They'll have to say, okay, these are findings, what we look in terms of capital needs. That's why Gina is there. That's why Gina chairs it. She gets feedback from everybody, the board members of the whole entire committee, the entire body. That's why I can't wrap my head around, because they did say it, they both said it during their report. They didn't have time to really look at the capital needs assessment, and they wanted more time to revisit it.
So if it's about work, then they should just have a working group that's in their committee.
yes, I agree.
Yes, I
I
agree.
agree.
And that's the
I
answer.
agree.
And I think we have to give smart answers to these kind of things.
Exactly, I
Anyway,
agree.
instead of just saying, no, you can't do that. No, this is how we do it. We don't need, as Deella said, we have enough committees and we can't staff all that. But if people need working group and they need to take more time, they can have set up a working group. We don't need to count every meeting of a working group
Yes.
on the attendance sheet. We don't need to break it all down into bureaucratic kinds of things. People want to work on something, they should set up a committee and let them go work on it.
Exactly. But they don't need a chair. They just have a leader. We're gonna research it. We're gonna come
They can
back.
call them a coordinator. We'll give them names for working groups.
Of course.
Everybody's had-
Yeah, well,
Everybody's had a million
they're
working
not
groups.
saying working group, they're saying subcommittee.
And
It could
I
be a
agree with
a
Jan.
subcommittee and call a facilitator, but it goes back to their committee. It doesn't go around and over their
Exactly.
committee to the board.
I agree, Jan.
I
That's right.
agree.
And you
that's-
also said something very important, is that they all have to, everybody on the committee, because this is one of the best, Maria has created one of the best ways of doing this budget work. I mean, I'm a big fan and I think it's really exciting. So we don't want people now taking this.
No,
openly
John, it's not Maria's.
And
It's
making it
Gina's.
not you.
It's Gina, Maria.
It's Gina's.
Talking about Maria from the
Gina.
office.
Not
Sorry.
mine. Thank you for the
Yes, you're
compliment, but
right.
it's not mine.
No, she's talking about Maria from the office.
Who knows what I'm doing? At this point, I'm hanging in there. What can I tell you? But the gut reaction is that people do have to all see it. They have to vote on it, and they can have any little working group they want to have, and they can have a facilitator of the working group, but they can't have another chair. They can't use the same language. They can't make it more confusing. It's confusing enough.
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
think that's
And
wise.
either way,
Very
we should
wise,
still
Sam.
I think it's
we
great
should
to
still have
work
our
with-
committee on bylaws relook at the whole thing. Or you think you already have done that? I'm sorry, I don't want to repeat something. If you think it's already been looked at, then drop what I'm saying.
Yes, John, they met with the executive committee and all the chairs
Okay.
from the each committee decided it wasn't a burden, that they could handle it, that they
Okay. all right.
welcomed non-board members. So it was, forget it. We gave them that opportunity to say, are you overwhelmed? Is it too much? They said no. So therefore, that's why I cannot understand why they would even want to do a subcommittee. The fact is, we
Well,
asked.
I think you should call it a working group, and anybody on that committee that want to volunteer to work with that group should be on it. It should not be exclusive.
Exactly, and do whatever research and homework they need. But I know for a fact
And
that
that's
they were,
certainly right. I think you
they said
got
they
it.
didn't have enough time in terms of putting in the capital needs to Gene. I don't know if you guys recalled back in the meeting, and it's in the reports, it's in the minutes, where they stated that they didn't have enough time to really visit the capital needs, and they wanted to look at it, revisit it at a later time. So
Well, I
that
guess
could be
this is what
visited.
they were looking at.
Right.
Perhaps, but I think that it's important to understand that when there is a time frame and there is a deadline, that we've got to get a fire, somebody's got to get the fire under them and take care and really respect and do those time frames, those time, when things are due.
Okay,
All
so
right.
Simon, is there any other discussion on that? If it be a committee, it should be a working group.
Right. So I wanted to make it aware, I voted against both motions. Same with other board members. I just want to, advise what went on yesterday, and, I was very upset.
Well, now you have
Okay.
to tell them what happened. You are the person that has to do this, not the Alice. That's your job, isn't it? And
Well,
I thought that you went to these meetings not to take positions in all of them, Simon. I thought you
No,
went there. to be-
wait, slowly. So first of all, I'm the co-chair of the Transportation Committee. That's
I
number
see.
one. And number two, I have a voting right on every committee. So, as the first vice
Not too
chair.
many roles, Simon.
Maria?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Simon, for bringing up that issue, and for inviting Mary to provide more context. But I will say that I do feel that you should have also reached out to Eric as the chair,
Right.
because he's the person that can speak from
And
Home
he's
plate.
been doing a very hard job for a long time.
that's my that is my contribution to this conversation.
Thank you,
my
Maria,
feedback.
because nobody said anything to me about this, so.
Okay, so
Simon?
we got enough, right? We gotta move on with
Yeah,
bigger.
can we
better
move
things.
on? We have to ask Joanna to, hand over the controls so that we can go to the search committee.
Yes.
Is David on? Where's David, Simon?
I understand David is not going to be able to attend. He called me on the phone, and he's on, he said he was not able to attend. He's traveling somewhere. He was somewhere in a car. He gave me some information that I can share with search.
Okay, let's
Okay,
first.
So we'll close out we'll adjourn the executive board meeting, and we'll go into the search committee meeting.